Hi. Hi. My name is Jeana, and welcome to A Regular Person Reviews. Is that gonna be the name of the series? I don't know if this is gonna be a series, but recently I had acquired the Canon Powershot V10 via my social media interests and journey in order to find the perfect, discreet, low-key, but still good vlogging camera, or simply just a camera that is an extension of your phone, because as much as it's convenient to be taking photos with your phone, the storage mama, I feel like there's also a niche and kind of a need for, at least for me, something besides my phone. I am not going to be talking about specs in this video. I'm not a tech YouTuber. These are not the things that I find really important in what I'm looking for in a nice camera. So these are all just my opinion on what I like. To clarify, I am shooting on the Canon EOS M5 at the moment. So this is not the footage you would get from the Canon V10. This is the box. You simply get a USB-C to a USB-C cable in this and a little keychain holder, or I guess wrist wrap in there, and then you get the actual camera itself. Yes, this is the Canon Powershot V10, and I just posted a vlog with this as well if you want to see some of these shots that were taken with the camera. I have a list on my phone. Let's talk about the pros first before we talk about the cons, the negatives. There's no particular order in how I'm going to express my thoughts. So the first and the biggest pro you can get, best positive note from this camera that you can get, is that it's actually so compact and super discreet. It's literally like holding your phone. This is definitely bigger than typical action camera like a DJI, or it's also bigger than the GoPro. But I realized that when you're holding one of those types of cameras, you're probably holding it like this, like grabbing it like that to like capture content if you're vlogging with it, or it's either on a little selfie stick or like just your hand, of course. But with this camera, I find that its form factor is super useful, because this is how I would hold my phone, and then this is how I would hold this camera also. When I'm really trying to be discreet because I'm not that confident in just whipping out a camera and recording something, I just do this, and I feel like it can almost pass off as a phone. It's like if you're recording something like this, like I went to Disneyland and I recorded like this, it made me feel not as self-conscious when I'm recording content, because it's discreet. It's not like I'm like holding something for everyone to see, like, hey, this is my camera, everyone. I can simply be like that just as fast as I can with my phone. And speaking of fast, the speed at which this camera turns on is really, really fast. It's literally a point and shoot. With cameras like the Sony ZV-1, you have to wait for the lens to fully extend before you can take your shot. But with this, it's on, you can immediately record a video. And to prove that, this is how long it would take for me to turn on the camera. Pressed it. There's a slight difference. And then also like turning it off as well. Not as discreet incognito, but here, let me do it from the side. Yeah, it's nearly not as fast as the Powershot. Next, when speaking of form factor, we have to talk about the tripod. The tripod. I am wearing black, not useful, but this little kickstand moment, easy. Obviously, it is flat enough where you can just like plop it down on a flat surface. However, that poses the same issue as other cameras have, like the DJI Osmo Pocket. This is also a really nice camera that I've used before, and it sounds like this, but like once you tip it over, it's pretty unsturdy. Whereas with the Canon Powershot, you could do the little kickstand, and I feel super secure in its abilities to stand upright and not fall. I really like that about it. Although I kind of wish that you didn't have to put it like that and then close the top of it. Kind of wish that you could close it while the top of it is already closed. Did I say that correctly? I wish you could basically put back the tripod while the screen is still closed. But that's a minor nuance. That's not really that important. Next pro. This camera has a really nice wide view That's the benefit of cameras like this and action cameras. You get a really nice wide shot, and that's really good for people who are really shy at taking out their camera, because you want to record things but without making it obvious. Sometimes you just want to get more of the background, like more of the environment that you're in, without making it so obvious. And you can't really get that on an iPhone. What makes this camera unique than just your phone camera is that with your front phone camera, at least for the iPhone, you can't really zoom in and out. I wish they would put more care into the front cameras and everything that revolves around it. If my iPhone was able to zoom really wide and have really crisp quality from the front, that would be great, but unfortunately it doesn't. So I really like this, as in the Canon Powershot V10. Okay, the next thing I don't think is really that big of a deal if you have a bunch of electronics that have this cord, but for me, I find it so useful. I like the fact that this camera has USB-C. Like, I don't have to run out and buy a specific cord for it. I have never taken out the USB-C to USB-C that came in the box, because I just use my laptop charger and I just charge the camera. I can just use my Switch charger and charge the camera. I just need one cord for a bunch of my electronics, and I can also just charge this and go. I know I touched on this briefly earlier, but I would like to re-emphasize this point. Like, this camera is literally a point and shoot. Here, boom, and boom, I'm already recording. Like, it's so compact, so convenient, like, it's amazing. Oh, I also said I really like the photos on this camera. Let me show you all how to get into camera mode. This is what I see on the Canon, and I don't know how to do this with the buttons, but I just tap on the screen, hit that, and then boom, let's take a photo. It only takes JPEG photos, if that matters to you. I really don't know what that means, but I like the photos. For some reason, this camera is super nostalgic feeling. It feels like the current trend of taking an old early 2000s digital camera and taking a quick photo with your friends. And perhaps that isn't the camera for you if you don't like that feeling of nostalgia and you just want everything at the best of the best, like super prime in technology. Perhaps this isn't the camera for you, but I really like the way the photos look. I never had an issue with the photos. I personally enjoy them, but then again, I'm not a photographer, so I'm just a regular person who enjoys the way the photos look. Nextly, let's talk about the mic. The mic placement. Very nice. Very, very nice. I'm currently using a DJI microphone at the moment, which is why you can hear the audio quality. And a little bit of static because I have it connected and I'm not using internal recording. I digress. But the actual microphones are really good on the Canon Powershot V10 because it's at the very top, so no matter like how you're holding it, because typically you wouldn't be holding it like that, right? You can get good audio. Even with the camera up, you're not going to be covering the microphone. It's actually really nice because I have had moments where I'm holding a camera and I accidentally cover the microphone and it's the footage is useless. So I really enjoy that. As for the audio quality, I think it sounds fine. I think it sounds good considering that I am in typically static environments. There also are wind protectors that are sold separately, but I don't have those. I feel like I don't really need those, and they do block up the screen quite a bit, but this is not an action camera, so I feel like I don't need those. I'm getting vocal fry. Okay, I should also say that this camera is lightweight, like super lightweight. This camera easily fits in my bag and it's not like weighing my shoulder down or anything. This can easily fit in my pocket. It's not weighing my pockets down. It's a little heavier than my iPhone 13 Pro, but not significantly. I do think it is lighter weight than the Sony camera, but that's because of the material. Like, it's not really made out of metal, it's made out of a different type of plastic. I think that was intentional since this is supposed to be a vlogging camera, so it's supposed to be lightweight, easy to throw in my bag. I've actually been carrying it in my bag every day. The next point that I like about this is the fact that I like the Canon interface. It's so easy to use. It's intuitive. All the settings on this camera are very simple. If you have any Canon camera, or even if you don't have a Canon camera, I feel like everything in this camera is super simple. That's like the main takeaway. This camera is extremely simple, so I feel like that's where you should judge your judgment on this camera. It's super easy to work out. You don't have to fuss with too many changes on the camera. If you are a novice at photography, videography, this is a decent camera for you, because I have a mirrorless camera and I still don't really understand how to get the perfect shot with my camera that I'm shooting on right now, and I feel like it's just too confusing. I just need a simple camera like this and call it a day, you know? But again, if you are a person that likes a lot of customization, perhaps this camera isn't for you. You can customize a little bit, but not that much. Going on with that point, I also put that because it's so simple, you can get really easy shots. It's literally, you turn on the camera, you get your shot, you're done, you export it. That's it. You can't really do too crazy intensive things with this camera, which I can touch on when I'm talking about the negatives, the cons of this camera. But if you're looking for simple, it's here. And finally, I would like to add that you can add external audio to this camera. There is a HDMI, like a mini HDMI cord in here. There's also a microphone jack in there, so you can hypothetically have a nice rig with this. Personally, I don't think that's what this camera is really for. I don't think vlog cameras need to have a full setup. I'm trying to capture things in the moment, and I feel like this is what this camera excels at, capturing things in the moment. Now, let's go on to the cons. This camera can shoot in 4K and lower, of course, but the 4K is not that great. Once you go and try to shoot in 4K, there will be a warning that tells you that this camera overheats. Why even bother having a 4K option on this camera body when it overheats in 20 minutes, maximum 30, I want to say, which makes me think a little. Maybe perhaps this camera is better for shooting like really short form content. We're shooting things here and there, like on the go, like just a little bit at a time, like 1 minute at a time, going back and forth. Because if you are sitting down with this camera shooting in 4K, it will get hot. For all of you who need the 4K, don't do it. Next, it's kind of an open conversation about this camera. It has an open lens, like the lens is not covered, and I don't love that because this is not an action camera, but that doesn't absolve it from any responsibility of getting scratches. I don't even have a cover for this. I understand that it's point and shoot in the way the lens is open, but can we get something that I can screw on and off to protect the lens? Even action cameras, the DJI Action 4 has a lens cover on it that protects the actual lens from getting scratches. And with this little camera being in my bag, it's very prone to getting scratches. Next up, let's talk about battery life. I feel like people are missing this when they review this camera, but the battery life on this is so poor. It's really poor. I thought about returning it because it's that bad, but I have seen this camera go from fully charged to halfway. And I think it's probably a glitch in the camera because it's only been 30 seconds. How can it be from 100% to 50% charged? And I've also seen it do the reverse, where it was at 50 and then the next time I turn it on without charging it, it's at 100. Very inconvenient, not that great. And I also wish that this camera had an actual battery that you put in it, because once this thing runs out of battery, I have to charge it with my USB-C charger and wait for it to charge up. There's no way you can get out the battery from this camera. The only thing you can do is change out the SD card, micro SD card. That's it. Next up, when I was talking about USB-C earlier, the convenience of USB-C, there's also slight inconveniences with USB-C for me. When you get this camera, it gives you a USB-C to USB-C charger. It doesn't even give you a brick because why would it, right? I'm sorry, but most devices around my house are still just USB-C or like a very specific charger for a very specific thing. I know this is like a me issue, but I feel like other people, other normal people out there just have the same issues. People who don't keep up with technology. Also, it's just that my actual computer is still a USB, so that's a me issue. But I'm sure as time advances and I get more future technology, I'm sure this is going to be a moot point, as you all will probably be switching over to USB-C given our timeline. Okay, also let's talk about the camera quality. It's not the best, okay? Not the best. It can shoot in 4K, but mainly I use it at 1080. We've definitely seen better out there. All the people who shoot on 8K reds. This has pretty decent quality for the everyday person, but I feel like if you are looking for a supremely crisp camera, it's better than your vision, this is not gonna be that camera. With cameras, I'm just so used to having a zoom. This camera doesn't have a zoom really. It has digital zooms where you like can punch in the shots, but I'm so used to a camera like this where I can manually zoom in and out. Granted, the Osmo Pocket can't do a zoom either, but this was going for gimbal purposes. I wish there was more customization with that. What if I want to do a zoom, okay? Like, if I just want to zoom in on something and like get a closer view instead of the nice wide view that we have. I think it's humorous. Next up, it's not waterproof. I don't think it's waterproof at all. This is a very cheap almost feeling body, like, because it's so plasticky and lightweight. Like, I do not think it's gonna be able to survive any crash, any fall, nothing. It's not an action camera, and I keep comparing it to one, but if I drop this I would be kind of devastated because guarantee this will get scratches. The body of it will get scratches. I had this in my pocket while I was roller skating and I was really afraid that if I fell that I would smash this camera in, and it's not the point of having a camera come with you all the time. You gotta treat it like a regular camera, but it's not an action camera. There's a weird middle ground where I like taking it around, but if you want to live your everyday life, if you're more active, it might cause an issue of it breaking. But if you are a person that does not do any physical activity, this is totally fine for you. Also, we need to talk about the price of this. This is $429. I know this is like a weird midpoint for me to mention this, but action cameras are cheaper than this. The Osmo Action is like $300 something for the standard bundle. $429 for this? I don't think it's worth it. Point blank period. But I do have it and I do like it. If there is another version of this camera that comes out, definitely get the upgraded version. Don't get this. But in my opinion, I don't really know if Canon's gonna make another version of this. It seems like so niche. This reminds me of the Canon Vixia Legra camera, the ones that all K-pop idols use, and I feel like that is the market that they really target. I feel like there is value to cameras that kind of look a little dodgy and like not perfect. I don't know, I like it. I like it for that. It gives a different feeling to the video. Yeah, definitely get it when it's at a lower price, and I can really see K-pop idols blowing up this camera. I guess that's a pro, even though this is the con section of the video, but there is uniqueness to this camera. The filters, they're insane. They're literally insane. Why? Why can we not customize the filters on this camera? Why is that one green? Why? Y'all know those awful filters that Instagram offers you in the app before its current day? Like, it used to be like green and like blue. Yeah, why? Why are we all in Twilight? Love Twilight? Why? Oh, okay. This one's a huge one. This next one is huge. The stability in this camera, it's awful. It's so bad. You feel like you're on a roller coaster, like motion shaking and everything. How about this one? What's in this one? Where is it? We don't know. That is not good at all. And the only way to fix the stability is when you turn on the stabilization, like it zooms in the camera so that you don't get the shaky edges. If you have it on enhanced mode, it punches in even more, which takes away the depth of view. To clarify, I was just trying to say that when you turn on the stabilization for this camera, it effectively takes away the wide view, which is the whole point of the camera. The stabilization is awful on this camera. Get you a gimbal, get you a camera that can stabilize footage. I should be able to walk without feeling like every step is shaking the camera. Okay, the Canon import app. I don't know about you all, maybe I just have really poor internet in my house, which is valid, but if I shoot a 10-minute video on the Canon Powershot V10, it's gonna take forever to get on my phone. I think other people just have really fast speed internet. I do not. That 10-minute video, it's not happening. It's not happening at all. It doesn't really give me the abilities to control the camera from my phone that well. I think it all boils down to my poor internet. I'm sure if you had faster internet, the Canon app will let you use it as a monitor and a way to adjust your settings on your camera very easily. But I've never had success with the Canon app in general, even with the camera I'm shooting on. Also, I forgot to mention that I do have issues getting photos off of this camera to my phone or like videos. Again, the Canon app, data transferring, not that great. So what I end up doing is using an SD card reader and then transferring it to my phone that way. That's simpler and easier and faster. But I shouldn't have to have another piece of equipment or item in order for this camera to perform. And this also kind of goes on with that last point. Live streaming wear. A big seller and marketing point about this camera is that you could live stream directly from it. I tried to live stream from it, but my internet was so dodgy that it never went live and it would immediately crash after 30 seconds. I think if you had better internet, the live streaming feature could work. I could not get it to work at all, and I didn't even bother to set it up with OBS because I couldn't even get it to work in the first place. The next point is that it's kind of awkward to swap between video and photo. Like on a traditional camera, there's a button for boom, you take a video, and then another button for a photo. This is all in the same button, so you have to manually swap in the settings to go from video to camera, then you press the button. I wish there was like different settings. Like I wish if you press it twice you get a photo, but like if you press it once you get a video. I feel like there should be features like that would help it be more of a multi-use camera instead of just video. The next point I have is that this camera froze on me. I posted it on TikTok. I was trying to live stream and it literally froze on me until the camera died. It basically had to die for me to recharge it and figure out what was wrong with it. It just booted it back up. I literally thought I killed this camera. I thought this camera froze on me and it was done for. I don't know what that was all about, but yikes. Earlier I mentioned how this camera is so simple. Yeah, it's simple because you can't do a slow-mo, you can't do a time-lapse. It's just a point and shoot. There's nothing fancy about it. You can't get really creative in those ways. I guess if you wanted to do a time-lapse and slow-mo, it would have to be through post-production, like editing it, which is not the same as actually getting slow-mo and time-lapses. Again, this is a very simple camera. Finally, the last point that I have is that it doesn't have a charging brick. I would have appreciated a charging brick. Are you really saving the environment by not including that? Genuinely. Like, I don't understand this trend now. When I got my Sony camera, it didn't have a charging brick. I don't have anything that could charge a Sony battery like that. I had to go and buy one. Like, what are we going on about? Why is the camera so expensive when it doesn't even have a charging brick? Y'all. Anyway, that is it for my regular person reviews video. I hope this video made sense. I hope this video was informative. If not, I apologize. I'm just a person. And these are what I look for or I noticed in this camera. If you like the video, please do. If you want to subscribe, it's going to be right over here. My latest video is going to be right over here. And thank you all for listening to me and chatting and just saying hi. I hope you have a great rest of your day doing whatever you are doing. And I will see you on the next one. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, goodbye.